All right, so because we are so productive entrepreneurs, we decided to shoot a podcast on the car drive on the way to a paddle session. Um, yeah, we didn't have much time during this week. Well, probably an excuse, but we've been working on the modules. Just had our first free, event, if you want to call it. Very, very successful. If you're not in there, I don't know what you're doing. It's in the first link in the description. You can just check it out. It's absolutely free as well. So today's is the 12th episode, and we want to talk about, when people have this idea of success, that when they achieve it, they think that all their problems will be solved. I think I also wrote like an email as well to our community about this. I think that once they achieve this goal, whether it's 10, 15, 20K a month or whatever, usually it's financial because it's much easier to measure. I think that when they achieve that, all their problems will be solved.
I also think the financial goal is it's also easier to sort of measure, but usually, and it's like you can't really focus on solving any deeper problems. Like you can't contemplate the meaning of life if you have bills to pay and you need to survive in a survival state. That's what Anand and I have been contemplating or trying to figure out. Where's the balance between operating out of a survival state and a place of abundance. What's the pros? What's the cons? What's the best way to do it? And I think that also feeds back into the goal is almost 99% of the time first to make a lot of money, because essentially when you get to a place where you can now take a bit of you're not struggling to make meeting and to pay whatever every month, then you're able to then be able to tap into a place of abundance. And I'm truly believe that your best work is done from that place. Essentially talking about the community, that entire vision was born in Bali, out of a place of abundance. You don't have the privilege to work on meaningful projects if you're focusing to putting food on the table,
And this might seem a bit controversial, but I know Alex. You obviously know Alex.
Are you talking about Amosi?
Oh, that guy's. Anyway, Alex Amosi. This might seem a bit controversial, but the fact that's not controversial is that he's operating completely like out of survival, but not obviously has enough money, resources to think abundantly, if you want to say that, but he orchestrates like a survival environment. Like he compares himself to his billionaire friends, or he famously said that it's not the five friends you spend most of your time with, it's the people you compare yourself to. And that creates the motivation, because that's also when I was starting out, like I compared myself to people online because I didn't have the immediate environment, and that created the motivation to then act. Because, if I just compared myself, and you're always comparing, like people say, oh, don't compare yourselves. Like, no, you're always comparing yourself to other people. That's just normal. It just is. And then you can use that, whatever. But if you want to, I think Ty Lopez also said, and I will get back to the Alex Hormozi thing. Ty Lopez said, if you want to be happy, compare yourself to people making less money than you. And if you want to make a lot of money, compare yourself to people making more money than you. So you're always comparing. And Alex, most of his work is in an orchestrated survival state, that he's always hungry. You can even tell it on his podcast. Like he's just like more and greed. And I don't really like his books. Like, to be honest, a lot of people, they like it, but I think it's a mimetic desire. It's like Alex is just promoting the stuff so well. He said, like, I put in 10 hours a day of work, like this is our life's work, and I put everything into this, and then people just feel that energy, and now they feel like, oh, it should be good. I think that's a lot of what's going on. And a lot of people say that, it's not that good. It's very tactical. It's not like, and some people like that, but it's not really for me. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I think I think it's good to also identify, what does it mean to operate out of a state of survival, and I think it's not just necessarily, you have bills to pay and that is what fuels you. I think it's more, you can also see it, for example, like Alex, like he obviously doesn't worry about financial, like bills and stuff like that. Yeah. So he has the abundance of resources, but he's still, like Andre says, curates his environment to always reinforce the idea that there's something that he's lacking and there's someone out there and something he's always chasing and him, which is obviously also good. Like there is benefits to that, but there's pros and cons to that. And it's just important to become aware of that. And ultimately, like there's no real right or wrong here. It's just essentially, are you willing to accept the trade-off? And are you willing to pay the price of the goal? But I truly think that just like a lot of people tend to make goals and are willing to pay the price for that goal, but they don't really know, what the value of that goal really is. And you only really get to know when you achieve it. And a lot of people, like especially like these young entrepreneurs, like I think like when you achieve like all this financial gain and like you think like, oh, your entire like, oh my, what I'm going to tap into, the value and it's going to be so amazing. And you get there and you realize like you're actually busy sacrificing a lot of valuable things for, this financial gain. And then you just realize like, there's some things that's not worth sacrificing.
Yeah. And I think, just wait, I've got some good ideas that I want to share.
Sure.
And people think, just making money and making a lot of money, like they think that's greedy. I think that's not even tapping into any greed. Like you want to buy the things, you want to get the things money can't buy. That's when you tap into like, people think, oh, I just want money, like that's greedy. No, like you should get things money can't buy. And that's a different type. And there's a lot of things like, relationships, your health, you can't really buy that. Obviously you can get a coach and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you still need to go to the gym and the rent is due every day. But with money, it's kind of leverage. Like once you've got investments, once you've got a team in place, like with us, once we've built out the module in the community, like it kind of fuels itself. So you can make money while not really working as much. But the gym and, relationships, like you have to work at that every single day. And like with your family, like, you can't just skip them off. You can't just, when you're working, just completely remove them. It's like those minute, small compounding effects. Like Naval said, the most of the things you really want come from compound interest, and that comes to health, relationships, and wealth. Most of it is compound interest. So what that means is small inputs every single day. It's the same with a big investment. It's not like, let's say $30 or $100 every single month. When you invest, that doesn't seem like much, but over 20, 30 years, that can fund your lifestyle. So it's those small investments. And it's the same with, relationships as well.
I mean, I think everything in life comes down and back to what is your heart posture towards that thing and what is your intention when you're doing that thing? Because, I think it's good to make a lot of money, but if your intention behind it comes from a negative place, then it's obviously not good. And so I think there's a lot of things like that, I also think the difference between, when you actually have the abundance of resources to not live in a place of survival, then then the difference between survival and abundance is your heart posture and intention behind your actions, Like I think the best way to operate, at least currently, that's what I believe. I mean, that's what Chris Williams believes as well, I guess. But, is when you can tap into a place of you're not operating out of scarcity and lack, and essentially anxiety and like, oh, like I need to do this to get that. And like, it's always you chasing money, if you can operate out of a place that transcends that, you're ultimately going to be able to work in, on deeper, more foundational work. But the trick is, yes, if you actually realign the potential of the time that you now have bought back, because a lot of people might, when they stop operating out of a place of survival or whatever, then a lot of people, tend to stop working as hard, because essentially you're not going to really work as hard as, in the survival state. Because now you're operating out of a place of abundance, there might not be things driving you as much anymore. And if you can somehow still tap into, did you understand what I'm saying? Like if you can still, because there's a lot of now extra potential, sort of inputs that if you align correctly, you'll be able to tap into the benefits of operating out of abundance. But if you don't reutilize that energy that you now have left, then you are essentially maybe wasting it.
Yeah, I have a lot of points on that. So when you say like, I never got that drive back from when I was started. That survival state drive, but you don't want that because hard work isn't the answer. I watched Iman's 3 episode Netflix episodes. I just
did you
watch
watch it?
Yeah, I watch it for inspiration.
Okay.
And not necessarily because I want to buy the thing.
How was it?
It's just how it's pretty good. It plays on a lot of emotion, but that's ultimately the buy is going for. Why did I say that? Oh yeah, he's mentioned as well, he's not necessarily working harder than the people when he was younger. He got on this tube. I think it's in the UK. Once they're done with work, they go on the tube and then go to the separate places.
like a train.
Everyone was miserable. When he was doing his agency, it wasn't necessarily working harder. He just worked on the right stuff. That ultimately is a smart work. But in order to get the smart work, you kind of have to work hard to gain that skill set, which gives you the leverage which you need. So you don't necessarily want to go back to that state. Although it's good to, I think everyone needs to go through it 100% to realize it's not the way forward. Then you can make the bigger decisions. Warren Buffett, he only makes decisions once or twice a year, but he makes hundreds of billions. And the rest of the time he just reads. So that's not necessarily working harder. It's working very smart.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that you can even untap in that, because I think that situation can become very beneficial if you then use that contrast. Let's say if you worked extremely hard, but it was it was a job that it doesn't make sense. You are going, you are running very fast, but you're going nowhere, or at least not to the goal. So you're thinking, oh, it's very virtuous, I'm doing good. It's no, you're just working very hard and you're not really getting any close to your goal. But if you can then transcend that, go to a more purposeful place, and then, remember how it was to, how should I put this in practical terms? When I was working my 9 to 5 or whatever, I was working really hard. And then when I started working for myself, there was a lot of opportunity for me to then not work as hard. And obviously I didn't. And, I don't necessarily think I still do, but to be able to then be conscious of how hard I actually worked, you're tapping into gratefulness. It's the contrast that brings forth the value. That's why it is good to be able to go through those times, because then you can look back on that and be like, wow, I'm really at a better place. I need to be grateful. And then that's sort of tapping once again into the abundance, realigning with the good, positive, not vibes or frequencies, because that's getting very woo-woo, but do you understand what I'm saying? You're realigning yourself with your ideal self. Your ideal self is feeling all these good emotions, has a positive perspective about life, and you are adopting that ideal framework.
And I have another point to make when you mentioned where you tap into the abundance state. All it's really doing, and Rob said this on our podcast as well, which is good, you essentially buying back time. And you're buying back mental bandwidth. That's just thinking of now, the next 24 hours or the next 48 hours. You're not thinking 5-10 years ahead. And that's what investing is really good for. It's not necessarily to make a lot of money, which obviously is a byproduct of that. But what investing for the long term does, I actually figured out, if I invest a certain amount, which I'm doing right now, over 20 years, I can make 100K a month passively. So I know in Rand, it's not crazy, but it's decent. If everything goes to shit, I'll still make 100K a month passively. So, which is perfect, right? And then I know my future is set. So now I can take bigger risks. So I can use the money that's not being invested, which is 90% of it, which I can then use on bigger risks, because I know at the time I'm 42, I'll still be able to live a good life just from my investment. So that's why investing is important. It's not necessarily to, make a lot of money. It's so you know that your future is set, so you can take bigger risks now. And that's long-term decision making, which will then make you more money in the short term as well. So you have mental bandwidth that you don't have to use for the future, that you can use now and for the next, I don't know, year, 2, 3, 4 years, because long-term investment is 20 years. So for the next 5 to 10, you can take more risks, which will then ultimately make you more money.
And also looking back on investment, there was a time where I was really looking at what's the best investment I can make, best in Bitcoin or stocks or real estate or whatever, especially starting off. I really believe, and it's not just me that believes, Alex Amos, all these guys, they all say the best investment you can make is in yourself. And that sounds cliche, but let's say you're making 30, 40,000 Rand a month, which is, I would say, a very good salary for South Africans. A lot of people are going to start, putting away 5K to invest in or whatever, like, that sort of to an extent makes sense to your current paradigm or current framework. But if you invest that money into mentorship, into courses, into bettering your sort of skills, you are then able to increase your monthly cash flow. And that's what you want to do. Because there's no point in investing 20% of your money if the cash flow that you're making is 30K. Like, then you're investing 6,000 Rand. Rather, take that 6,000 Rand, invest it in something that's going to increase your cash flow, and then the 20% becomes a lot more, And I would say, investing makes sense when the return of that is a lot more than investing in yourself. Like, okay, that might be very, obviously straightforward, but like if you...
No, it's not necessarily straightforward, But when you invest in community and mentorship, like, I increased my income, like 10,000%. Where are you gonna get that return on like crypto or like, you can maybe in some meme coins you get 1,000, but like that's straight up gambling. But the investment you make in yourself, you have that forever. No economy can ruin that. If you lose your job, you still have your skill set, so you have that forever. Like, you are your biggest asset.
Let's put it like this: when did you decide? Like, why did you decide it's a good time now to start investing? Because obviously, you're still investing in yourself. Like, when did that line, when did you step over that line? I was like, okay, cool. Like, now it's worth me to put a little bit of money away.
When I'm making more money than I can invest in mentorship.
That's what I tried to convey now previously.
Like, I actually just invested today in a course, which is around 10K. So yeah, I'm still doing odd courses here and there. And constantly investing my knowledge through books and that kind of thing. But I think courses are still good because you're paying for it. And then I pay, like, I'm there with my journal writing notes because I paid for this thing, even though it was not that much. And I can probably get the same information from like a book, but because it's free, it's like an audiobook on YouTube, I'm not paying as much attention. I'm not looking for the ROI, but when I spend my entire net worth on something, I'm all in, literally and energetically, because like that money is my life's energy. I used my energy when I was like, for example, waitering. Like, I was moving around, literally expending calories to get money. So that money is literally just my energy. And when you insert that in like a course or a mentor or something like that, it's like you're literally putting your life's energy there. So where your energy goes, your attention flows or something like that, So you're like, I was focused because I had to get this thing back or, at least make a return.
I mean, that's also just like leveraging sort of human nature as well. It's like, that is technically just a skill issue. Like you can technically just, still focus very hard on a free product if you really focus on it. But like, that is so difficult to really do that. Like, it's human nature to value something more if you put some effort in to get it.
Yeah.
And so like, yes, it is possible to go and learn everything like free, but also it's going against your human nature. Some people might be able to do it, but most people better off just paying for it and then, attaching an instant amount of, not responsibility, but you're technically, you're like, it took something from you to get this thing. And now you feel responsible and a part of this. And therefore you'll put in more effort. It's like a very good example, for example, it's like Alex Hormozi. I think, or who said it? But essentially they're speaking about, a lot of men tend to make double the amount of money that they do after they, start getting kids. And so Alex Hormozi said, like, that is true, but it's not because of the kids necessarily. Like, you can tap, it's just because those men decided to now burden responsibility for people more than themselves. They started to now, okay, I'm not going to go and party anymore. Like, I need to work over the weekends, like, because I need to provide now. And so if you can just tap into that energy before getting kids, you don't have to get kids to make more money.
Is it just that, or is it because they're older in general?
Maybe it's a bit of both, but essentially the study was done on the exact moment when people got kids, before and after. the amount that they made before kids and the amount they made after. And it's all magical, like you make more money because you get 2 kids and now boom, you're going to double your salary. It's just burdening extra responsibility and now actually doing what you're supposed to do. And because now you're actually motivated to do so. And like, that's just utilizing human nature. But if you become aware of that, there's so much untapped potential that you're not tapping into. It's like, I forget who said it, but this guy basically just said that, youth is wasted on young people. And essentially,
that was my newsletter.
Was that your newsletter?
Yeah.
Okay. So Andrew said it. But essentially,
I coined it.
Yeah. But essentially, well, you're probably like the best person to sort of expand on that. But essentially, it all goes down to, like, you are on the time with the most energy, nothing to lose,
no
responsibilities. Like, but you don't tap into that potential because obviously it's the unknown unknowns. Like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know you have that potential until you actually tap into it by adopting responsibility for your kids. So I wish, like, and you can meditate on this, like, try and meditate on your 40-year-old self, okay, that has 2 kids, your energy levels is cut in half, your testosterone is cut in half, whatever, and you're probably still working harder than you're doing right now. Especially if you're just a normal guy in university, you're probably not really tapping into any potential. Maybe just excluding, studying or whatever. But like, if you actually go and like, there's so, like, even myself, I have so much untapped potential, I just don't know it. And so by surrounding yourself with people that is tapping into that is going to help you obviously a lot. But when
you're young, you don't have your older self to compare yourself to. So that's why they say youth is wasted on the young, because you don't know, you can't compare it to anything because you're just here now. Like, you're not, when you're old, you were young, so you can compare it. But it's the same as when you make money, you were broke. So you know what money feels like because you have something to compare it to. So that's why it's a huge trap to get born into riches. People think they want that, but deep down you don't. Like, you want the struggle. You want it to be hard because then, obviously most of the people won't do it, and then people will value it. If no one values it, like, I'm not sure if anyone really do it. Everyone is out here trying to feed their ego a bit, which is also fine. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. So you want to compare yourself, when you were older. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway.
Well, it is the contrast. It's
it's the contrast. That's how that's how you experience reality, is through contrast.
Yeah. It's quite tough to do a podcast while driving. Like, I'm focusing on the road, but also trying to convey some information.
Isn't it easier because your mind is like, you can't think?
Nah, I don't know where that comes from, but like, I want to focus. Like, I want to. Because I think I like thinking about things before I speak about it.
Really?
I promise you. Like, I tap into like the unknown, but like, if we do a podcast or if we speak with people while they're speaking, I'm obviously listening, but I'm in my head. I am, curating a route of ideas and thoughts that I want to tap into.
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite. I want zero thoughts. No. I just want, like, I don't want my mind to think of anything. That's like that, just like stillness completely. That's where the best ideas come from. I feel like
I debate myself in my head when I speak, because like, I also want to like just not convey nonsense. Like, I don't want to sit here and just talk nonsense. Like, I want to also sort of, fact check myself before I say something. But yeah.
No, I think when you speak from that present state, that's ultimately where creativity also comes from. Is people are like, the biggest thing is that people, I think there's a quote that said, most of man's problem, and man is like, like the entire society really, it's because he can't sit in a room for 30 minutes by himself.
Yeah.
Like, that's where most problems arise. It's like essentially boredom. Like, that's essentially what he's saying. Like, if you can't experience boredom, and I think Steve Jobs also said, like, that's where most creativity and the biggest ideas and the best ideas come from, is from that state of boredom. And when you feel that, people instantly pick up their phone and start scrolling because they don't know how to experience that. Like, it's like strange. So really try and cultivate that. And the best way to do that is really through meditation. It's pretty boring, but you just sit there and basically do nothing. But like, try that. Try it for 30 minutes every single day. And like, you will start to tap into that more, and that's where good ideas come from.
I mean, also like there's so many things that you can do that's like excluding, like, because what is meditation anyways? Like, I would say maybe just like, okay, before I get back to what you just mentioned now, like, I would say, a way I tap into being present is like when I'm on my daily walks. Because sometimes I'm consciously trying to do nothing. And so while I do that, I'm walking. So like I'm walking, but I'm consciously just doing, like I'm not listening to anything. I'm just, but I'm trying to not even think or plan. Like that's what I mean. Like I'm trying to just be there and just look around and just see things and just feel like listen to like, I don't want to be in my head and be like, okay, like when I get back, and you do this, and you reach out and you do that, and you like, I want to be there and just walk. And that is also essentially meditation. That's being present. But what I would say is like, when I'm like sitting there and I'm sort of thinking before I speak, like that's still me being present. That's just me sort of conveying my information in a curated sense, but that I'm tapping into that in a present state.
Yeah,
like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm being present in that moment, like just trying to do that. Like that's why I don't want to do, because now I'm not necessarily present, because I'm like focusing on this, but I'm trying to be here and be present, but it's difficult to do both.
But also, like when let's say you're driving and a car just like goes close to you, right?
Yeah.
You don't think. You're not thinking when you like swerve away.
Yeah,
you're not thinking. That's complete present state. It's like just like the mind, it just knows exactly what to do. So it's not like the car is maybe driving towards you and you think, okay, it's driving at this speed. I need to turn. Like no, your brain is just like boom, and that's present state. So and thinking, it can be the same as, let's say you want to talk to a girl in the gym or whatever, right? When you pre-plan a speech pre-plan like an opener, terrible. It never works. Like pre-planning stuff and thinking what to say, like never works. But complete present, when you just like see and walk up, like instantly, the best conversation always. When someone taps you on the back and you just see them instantly, you have no time to think of what to say, the best conversations. So I think people just need to tap into that more. People are way too much in their head. And that's just entrepreneurs in general. I think we're more logical. We like to think things through more. And that's like a disease. Like you want to have your awareness outside your head. Because it's not always about you. When you think in your head, it's like there's a mush. You can't really think straight.
Yeah, there's so much value, and that's why like Mother Nature is such a good doctor.
Yeah, nature.
Because it's literally, it's the pure feminine energy of being present. Like when you're in nature and you're just there,
nature is feminine, eh?
Yeah, it's
beer is also feminine. Music is also feminine energy.
But what is it? But like, why is it feminine again? It's because like you're tapping into the present. Or something
like when you're drinking, it's like you're completely present. I think it shuts down your thinking, logical, rational mind. It shuts that down. That's why people are more social, because it kind of cuts out that logical, critical brain where you're like, oh, I shouldn't say that. It cuts that out completely. So people just say stuff really, and it doesn't really matter what you say; it's how you say it. It never really matters what you say.
But it's like we're not saying like the feminine in a bad way. Like we're referencing the way of the superior man by the way of the superior man by David Data. And so essentially it's just two different sort of ways of expression. You got the masculine and the feminine that's attached to all things essentially. And so if you're very stoic or, oh dude, we're gonna be late for this paddle. No, we are late for sure. Maybe go have a look. How far are we out?
Let's check real quick.
Nah, you need to let the boys know.
10 minutes. We can't miss our pattern.
I really dislike being late. Like that's one thing that I really don't like. I like being punctual. I literally
wrote it in my newsletter. I'm like, you're late, and now we're late. What's tough. It called? Virgin Active.
C point.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking? Coming back to like the masculine and the feminine. If you, for example, take
no way.
What does it say?
20 minutes.
20 minutes? You need to tell them they need to warm up so long.
Yeah. Congestion ahead, No.
Congestion ahead. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Google.
Anyway.
Yeah, we found it. We found the congestion. But let's not.
We're talking about the mask, but I think we should go back to the original title of today, which is stop hoping for a completion of anything. And that's also from David Data, his book, The Way of the Superior Man. Yeah, and people think once they achieve their goals, once they achieve this certain character trait, once they achieve anything really, once they get this car, once they get this apartment, once they like anything, they think their life's gonna alter completely. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. It's a constant battle constantly. People think once they achieve the success, like all the problems will just subside and just like it's just peaceful. But it's not like that at all. It's like it's a daily battle, like always.
I mean, if you saw, once again, referencing David Datter's book, he essentially says the pure essence of the masculine, well, essence or whatever, the main purpose of a man is completing things and completing goals, essentially. And so you just go and analyze this, especially if you're highly masculine. But like, I mean, highly masculine, you can find highly masculine women as well. That's just sort of the way how you tend to operate towards things. If you're a bit more arrogant or, whatever.
Like goals oriented.
Yeah, goal orientated and ambitious, whatever. Those are very masculine sort of
Traits.
things. Yeah, but in any case, so essentially it's to complete goals and things. And so you can even analyze this. So let's say if I know, did I go on a date or something? The goal there in my head
goal,
is
like the way you're speaking, the goal of the day.
That is the goal of the, and that's why becoming self-aware is so important, is because in the beginning I completely did this wrong. But essentially the beginning was, the goal was, okay, we're going on a date. Okay, so let's go to this pizza place. Now the goal is to be there at 7. We're going to eat a pizza, we're going to drink some wine, whatever, and then the goal is to get back home safely, or whatever. And so now we get to the place.
First to
but now you get to the place.
To order and how much calories is in this meal. It can support your protein intake, so you can make muscle. Yeah.
But now you get there, and now they don't have a steak, or now they're fully booked, or whatever. Now it completely throws your goal over. Or now you are. Let's say, Odelia takes a bit longer with her makeup. And so now we're going to be late for 7:30. We're going to be late. And the goal was to be there at 7:30. I told them I'm going to be at 7:30. Now I'm a bit irritated. I'm like, oh, come on, we're going to be late. Because it's interfering with the goal. Okay, but essentially, the goal was just set incorrectly. The goal should be to spend time with your significant other or whatever. That's a completely different topic. But essentially is you want to become aware of your human nature and what your tendencies are naturally. And if you are highly masculine, you tend to be a lot more goal orientated. And so you just need to become aware of these things. If you now go on a date with a goal, don't let the goal be to be at that place at a certain time, whatever. It should be to spend time with that person. But you can analyze that in business as well. And becoming aware of that just gives you a lot of power, because then you are able to operate out of a place of, now you know why you are reacting in a certain way. And then you are able to then correct that into a more aligned sort of manner or whatever.
I think Robert Greene said, it's not human nature that's evil or something like that, but your ignorance of human nature.
Yeah.
So that's why people read these books, not necessarily to use it on people, even though there are also good ways to use power and authority for people's benefit. It's so you're aware of that when someone uses it on you. So it's more of a defensive mechanism. I know it's the book 48 Laws of Power, like they took that out from prisons as well. Yeah, they took that out because in prison, like they use a lot of those laws, and they don't want the prisoners to be aware of the laws they're using. And there's a lot of cognitive biases as well. Charlie Munger, he coined that really, like the authority bias, the social proof, like that's big stuff. It's like primitive brain. It goes through, they call it heuristics. So it's like in your brain, let's say you go for a walk and you see when you're walking, like there's this path in the grass that's a bit more flattened out. It's because people are walking through that, but the other areas of the grass are a bit more like longer grass, and you just walk through that because it's easier. It's more, that's the same.
Resistance.
Yeah, that's the same as your brain. Like when you constantly use those thoughts, constantly just go over them, it's like the same as the grass path. It's like flattened out, it's easier. But when you need to go through the long grass, it's friction. And that's ultimately what your beliefs are. It's like if you constantly think of this paradigm and these limiting beliefs, if you've grow up with those beliefs, if you constantly reinforce them, it's like it's hardened in your brain. So when you need to unlearn beliefs,
yes, like what do you call this? What do you call this? Police, like the
traffic jam.
No, but like the traffic officer. Is this legal even?
What?
Like I'm looking at the road, like recording while I'm driving. Is this even legal?
I don't know how we're recording.
Yeah, good point. But yeah. Anyways, essentially, like I think what Andrew just said. Sorry, I interfered completely. Sorry there, but I think a lot of it comes. Oh, cars in a crash.
You can't park there,
Ooh,
mate.
but it once again all comes down back to your heart posture and your intention behind these things. So like you're talking about the 48 laws of power and utilizing human nature and all these things. A lot of people say, oh, but it's scammy or it's
Now,
it's
power
not.
just is.
But it's just
like,
yeah, and well, I would also like to say you need to have a pure intention behind these things because there is a line, but the line is very fadey, and it's like where do you draw the line? Some beliefs say something, some beliefs say other. Like it's all dependent on your intention, I think. And if you operate out of a good place, I think it's very difficult to go wrong in almost anything in life. So yeah, I think having a clear intention behind everything you do is so important. I even have clear intentions for certain rooms in my like where I'm operating. Like I got a module in the School of Athens, in the for Natures of Virtue. I think it is the Stoic Sanctuary. I'm talking about how important it is to identify and place intentions in what are the people in front of this car doing?
huh?
They're like dancing or something. They completely took me off side now. But it's very important to attach intentions to certain areas because your brain unconsciously links certain triggers to areas. And so you don't really want your office to be like your bed area, for example.
Yeah.
Because like when your brain goes into your bedroom, it sees something stupid. You don't even know it. It happens unconsciously. But it sees something that it triggers your brain to feel like, or to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And so you want to have a completely different area. So it doesn't have to be, if, for example, my office and my room is in the same place, but it is distinctively in two different areas. And so I attach very intentional intentions to those areas. And that helps my brain to, morph into that mindset when I am in that place. I don't know if that makes sense.
I can see you concentrating right now.
Yeah, because it's like the police people like showing. I'm like, yo, bro, like I don't know, is this even legal?
Too much to focus on.
Yeah. But it's very important to be intentional with everything you do. And the thing is, when you become conscious of a lot of these like human nature principles and biology and psychology and all these things, a lot of people say, oh, but like I don't do that. Like it's well, no, you don't. You do it unconsciously. But just because you do it unconsciously, like that's why you're giving it power. You're giving it power by identifying it consciously and then tapping into it, and then that becomes your new unconscious.
Yeah, I got a new quote. That you already know it. It's anything done consciously is better than nothing done unconsciously. No, I screwed it over. I screwed it over. Wait, it's nothing done consciously is better than anything done unconsciously. That's right. So it's just the other way around.
Wait, just repeat that one more time.
Yeah. So
people at the back.
Anything done, anything done consciously. So you're actually aware of what you're doing is better than nothing done unconsciously, or than anything done unconsciously.
Yeah. Essentially, anything you do consciously is better than doing that exact same thing unconsciously.
Or anything else, really, unconsciously.
Or whatever.
So that's ultimately, you need to be aware of constantly what you're doing.
Self-awareness is the biggest thing. Because what happens when you do something unconsciously is like you're just aware of that. You are aware that, like, let's say, for example, you're struggling with an addiction.
Awareness is 90% of the solution.
Because, like, even if you just take relationships, like, I would say 100% of relationships fail because of a lack of communication. And, becoming aware of things and being able to address situations, I don't know if that ties into it completely.
Also 90% of marriages fail because of finances. So.
Oh, really?
That's all. Yeah. It's 90% finance.
And I would also even just say, like, that also just stems from a lack of communication. It's like, maybe you guys should both have communicated how valuable the finances is and maybe come to a different decision or a conclusion, as to how you're going to approach the situation or the marriage. But yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that now. I'm focusing again on that.
But it really also comes down to awareness. And like, if you are aware that you are financially struggling, It's like then awareness solves 90% of the issue. But most people aren't even aware of it. Maybe the guy is trying to show that he has more than he really has or whatever. And that creates problems in the future. But 90% of it is finances because it starts there. It's like, the wash machine break.
Wow, that's actually a very good point.
It
Self-awareness.
starts there. And then it's like this whole argument because like, you can't provide. It's like, what the, like just because you can't fix this wash machine now. So it all starts with finances really. And then, I need to petrol and gooi, and it's like all this stuff that happens. And then there's an argument. It's like, so just get your money up.
Get your money up.
Honestly.
No, but I think self-awareness is very important because essentially, I don't think it's the lack of finances that leads to disrespect from women. I think it is the lack of intention to better yourself and your future and, us together as, as a unit, you and your girlfriend and your wife. Like, I think that's where the lack of respect comes from. And that comes from a lack of consciousness or a lack of awareness. Because, like, I don't think the value lies in achieving the goal, but in the pursuit to do so and the intentional pursuit to better yourself. And I think that's really where the truth lies. Like, I don't know, and you might disagree with me on this, but I don't think women look at, or just other people in general, like, I don't think they'll look at a objective thing and be like, wow, like, this is everything. Like, this is amazing. Like, I think it's more just the indication of what that represents. Well, maybe that leads to then, maybe that they make that previous assumption that's unconscionable.
It's the analogy of like, is it the car or is it the traits of the guy who got the car?
That is able to have the car, But that's once again becoming aware of that. Because if you can become aware of that, then essentially you don't even need the car to get your dream woman, because it's just the traits of the man that has the car. And then you can.
How do you show the traits?
Well, that's the thing. Like, then the woman also needs to be
like,
sort of.
Are you gonna go on a date and you're like, I'm disciplined, I'm ambitious, here's my bank account.
Yeah.
You got like,
no, but like
the car is a form of marketing. Girls also do marketing. They got the makeup on, they got the push-up bras. Like, it's all marketing, And guys also need to market themselves. Like, how are you gonna know if you are the successful guy if you don't market it? It's like if you're just a billionaire in a hoodie. I'm just saying billionaire. And Jim Rohn also said, don't become a millionaire to get $1 million. Become a millionaire because of the type of person you become, right? So a billionaire is obviously the type of guy who can make $1 billion. Like, that's a pretty valuable guy in society. But if he's just walking down the street in a hoodie, no one's gonna know his value at all. So what's the point in that? It's just like, oh, but I know. It's like, bro, just get over yourself,
But I would say again, like, that is the biggest flex you can have, is having all I think that's a boy's waiting for us at the paddle.
Oh, yeah.
But like, that's the goal. That's exactly what I'm trying to strive for now, is being able to pitch up at a place. That's like the humble flex.
No, but that's like, almost worse. Like, because it's the billionaire with a Casio watch.
But that is the best thing you can do, because essentially,
I disagree.
You need to do it from a place of doing it for yourself. And like, that sounds very cliche, but like, if you are buying the car and becoming like extremely successful or rich just to get a high valued woman that like sees like all these things, be like, oh yeah, like, I'm going to give this guy a chance. Like, there's obviously some merit in that. But I would say the true sort of beauty lies in her not knowing those things and still being interested in you. Like, that is where it's at. But like, why would I say that is that?
It's the same as like, let's say in some fashion, you couldn't see a girl's beauty.
Yeah.
That's the exact same. It's like, you just, because like, that's ultimately, what men look for. Like, we just visually, that's just how it is, like, whatever. And then girls are more of the, the traits and everything like that. Obviously, new studies are coming out that they also, obviously, the looks are important, but it's less so than men, all right? So let's say you take the value out of the equation completely. Like, I think Neil Strauss is the author of The Game. He asked Jessica Alba, who's obviously a very attractive woman, like, what, aside from your looks, what are the 3 traits that make you valuable? And like, that's just probably the best question you can ever ask, because that takes her power away completely. And now she's qualifying herself. Oh, I'm trustworthy. I'm like, okay,
So
cool.
what's the same for men? It's like, besides
it's like,
what's the main thing for men you would say? So
okay, normal clothes, just normal car. You can obviously think of what normal is. Just like average. Let's just say average car, average price, average salary, like that. You just say you make that. And that's basically taking all your power away. Now it all comes down to the personality, but it's the attraction part that's important. Like, I'm not going to walk up to a woman, even if she has the best personality on earth. If I'm not attractive to her physically, I'm not going to do it. Right? Zero chance.
Iman said something, actually, I saw on a post he made, I think it was yesterday, where he actually said, like, between all these high networking individuals, like everyone, like all these rich guys that can get any type of woman, any type of race, any type of body shape, any whatever age, any type of woman they can get, like their heart always belongs to like someone that doesn't necessarily, check all the boxes, but it's always like she's not necessarily the most attractive or the most sexy or whatever, but there's always that one girl that doesn't make sense, but they have that person's heart. Like, that's what Iman said. It's not it's not. It's a good cliffhanger. Well, we need to go and play anyways.
All right.
We might add on to this segment, and we might not. So let us see.
Bye-bye.